Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead, and well, Brandon, we're about almost a week into the reality that we lost a legend, a friend of ours, and a friend of Memphis.
I mean, it still seems very surreal because it's like he always had a way of popping up just when you had kind of purged him from your brain.
Yeah, and of course we're talking about Prince Mongo, which I guess everybody in the Mid-South is. Although if you're listening to this and you're not from Memphis, Google Prince Mongo from the planet Zambodia, and be prepared for hours of really videos and footage about him. So
he was a character. That's a nice way of saying it. He is an eccentric Memphis icon.
Well, we've got stories, and we've got a pretty strong connection to Prince Mongo here on Geek Tank Radio. But for those, maybe you don't know what happened. So Mongo is a very active person. You see him around town everywhere.
Right.
You see him a lot at Kroger and Home Depot. I don't know. That's
which is weird. I know it seems like, well, I mean, we all go to grocery stores. We all go get our home improvement stuff. But he stood out.
Yeah, well, for one thing, he wasn't wearing shoes ever.
Never wore shoes.
He looked kind of like a hobbit.
He had to keep the energy, flowing with the earth. You had to have that connection.
Yeah. And so in that vein, the one thing I'll say about him is he was always active. He was a very active person. And so he was out. He and a guy that works with him were in his backyard cutting a tree. I got the full inside scoop because my wife talked to this man.
Right. And
he said, well, Mongo was about 10 or 12 feet up in the air cutting a tree. And when you cut a limb and it gets to that stage where you hurt it starts to slowly go down.
Yeah.
Well, the guy said, all right, let's throw a rope around it. Come on down and let's throw a rope around it and pull it the rest of the way, because cutting trees is very dangerous.
It really is.
And he was more or less like, no, man, come on, we're gonna get this. And then he kept trying to cut it, and unfortunately lost his balance and fell, from that height. And he fell onto his chest, which he's got a pacemaker. I never knew that. And it had a cardiac incident. He actually fell into his neighbor's yard. And it was the good news is he didn't suffer long, but I felt bad for the guy working with him though. I'm like, gosh, he was luckily he was there with him though, because he's able to call 911, but still it was too late.
In keeping with the lore, he was 333 years old, so the fact that he was still out there doing yard work in and of itself was. The thing is, Brandon, he was 330 years old. His physical body was 89 years old in human terms, which is a lot. I mean, at that point, you don't need to be up on a tree limb. So right, but he was one of those guys that age was never going to slow him down.
Right.
He always. I mean, I kind of wish I had his energy. I'm 48 years old. I just, half his energy I would like to have.
Oh, you feel exhausted after you talk to him. I saw him a few months ago and we were talking, and at the end of it, you get like whiplash. It's like, holy smokes, man.
Well,
where does that energy come from?
I was going to say, you get whiplash because he can change subjects on a dime.
Yeah. But man, it was very weird. And the funny thing is, not funny, but the interesting thing is I've known him I feel like I've known him pretty well. I didn't even know his real age. I thought he was 79. We were hearing reports of 79 or 80. I'm like, he's not 89. That's ridiculous. When you look at him, he looks like he's in his 60s.
Yeah.
But he really was 89.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess it's that healthy living.
He kind of has he looks Alan's age.
Yeah.
So it was when I first read the age that they were saying 79, I was like, there's no way. And I went and looked him up. I looked up his Wikipedia because it's like, Wikipedia will have it. The Wikipedia page for him doesn't know what year he was born in. It's like it says like 1946 or 47.
Right.
Because it was like, they were just calculating his age based on what, he had told, it's like at whatever given time. But apparently it was not, it was not correct. He was 10 years older than what most people thought he was. And all I could think of is like, I remember, and we posted it earlier this week, but I remember when he had come in to do that interview when we were back at, iHeart.
Yeah.
And I mean, this was our first year on the air. We'd been doing it, 6 months maybe? When, he was doing the rounds and...
Yeah, it was actually our 6-month anniversary.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like he's walking past and it's like he saw you or something, and it's like he pops in and, see what's going on, because you and him have kind of a storied history.
I thought I could be wrong, but I thought we brought him in and then they threw him on Rock 103. Was it the other way around?
No, he was in the studios, he was just at, the iHeart studios.
Yeah.
And...
I think he did a few stations that day.
Yeah, and he had seen you while you were printing out, show notes.
Right.
Because back in the day when we would go in, that was like the first thing to do is you'd print out the show notes and you got everything ready. You get your paper because we always had to, edit things and whatnot. And he saw you between, stops, and then he came in and hung out with us. And then, Rock 103 snagged him after he left ours. Right. And they actually aired him over there, but he had gotten into some political stuff, and at the time, Geek Tank did not do any political discussion.
Yeah, and that's right, because we never aired it.
Right, and we've kind of stayed to that, to that goal, because everybody else is talking politics. We just want to give you a positive entertainment.
Well, the thing about it is, folks, you probably have already seen, if you're listening to this, that we went ahead and posted that interview. It's really good. Honestly, I think it's one of the best conversations I've heard with him, because he talks all about why Zambodians don't wear shoes, why they decorate their houses the way they do, and you actually learn a lot about Zambodian culture. And, the truth is, okay, Brandon, I guess I'll just say it finally here on the air. One thing I've sort of kept secret is I actually bought my house from Prince Mongo, and it's a fairly well-known house.
Yeah.
I mean, at the 20 something years ago it was. Well, what the heck? I was going to tell the story today, at least, of what that was like, and maybe give people some behind the scenes insights about Prince Mongo, because why not?
Yeah, I mean, we've got the connection.
So anyway, we're going to give you some behind the scenes look at the great Prince Mongo when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead, and we are saluting the passing of our buddy Prince Mongo. I hate to say it, but I did feel a little better knowing that it was his physical body was 89 years old instead of 79 like I originally thought. That's a good run,
Oh yeah, and I mean,
I kind of thought he would outlive me, honestly, but
if he had listened to his buddy about the tree limb, he probably would have.
Well, that was the thing. I mean, he could be very stubborn.
I mean, I know,
and he wanted to do things himself if he could, which I like that attitude. Yeah. But
it's like, what was it I said to you? In the midst of it all, I was like, he pulled a U.
What do you mean? Oh, just doing stuff yourself.
He fell off a ladder.
Right. Oh, yeah. I learned my lesson about ladders years ago. But hey, well, Brandon, I thought, what the heck? This is kind of a funny story anyway. And since we have this inside connection and everybody's talking about Prince Mongo, I should say we have kind of a cool story to tell about.
We've got several cool stories to tell about him.
Yeah. Well, this one I don't think I ever told anybody. Nobody on Geek Tank, because I mean it's kind of private, and I didn't really want everybody knowing where I live. But at this point, people already sort of do. Because all your information's on the internet anyway.
Yeah, the majority of the people know where you live, so doxing yourself is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, if I think about it, I think my address is on pretty much every one of my websites.
It's probably true.
But okay, well, folks, if you know anything about Prince Mongo. You know that one of the staples of Zambodian culture is that they decorate their houses very weirdly.
Right.
And at the corner of Park and Colonial was a house that Brandon we're talking the early 2000s. So yeah. I bought my house in East Memphis in I think 1996, something like that. Okay. It was a little house, and we were newly married, and I had these kids, and we're growing, and we're really outgrowing our house pretty fast. Right. But one of the things we like to do, we lived about a mile from Park and Colonial. So no matter where we were going, even if we had to go out of our way, we always made a point of driving by Prince Mongo's house because you never knew what you were going to see.
Yeah.
It's like every day it was different. It was like, there's toilets on the roof. There's, I don't know. There was so much stuff in there.
Was that the one that had half a car buried in the front yard?
No, that was the Midtown house.
Okay, that's the Midtown house.
But this one was just as obnoxious. And the thing is, it's a big lot. It's almost an acre property. And he took advantage of every square inch of that acre. The trees were spray painted.
Well, I mean, the big fence, and it was all painted.
There's a wraparound fence. The paint, it was like a Jackson Pollock painting that thing. And of course, so anyway, we would drive by. Well, one day I'm driving by with the kids, and it's like there was this little junky for sale sign said "for sale by owner."
Yeah.
And I remember telling the kids, "Wow, man, he's moving. What a bummer." I mean, now what are we going to do for entertainment over here?
Right.
So, and I never met Prince Mongo. I just saw the house.
Yeah.
Well, about 5 blocks later, it started to occur to me. I'm like, wait a minute. Now, he probably didn't do this stuff to the inside of the house. In our house, we're outgrowing our house pretty rapidly, and I'm a contractor, and I know how to fix things.
Right.
And one idea led to the other, and so I turned around, and I'm like, okay, if you look at this house objectively, it's a great location.
And it's a rather nice house. I mean,
it's bigger than what we've got, at this point, and it's got a big backyard the kids could play in and everything. So then I had to go. I ran home and I was trying to convince my wife that this would be a great idea to buy Prince Mongo's house. I copied the phone number on there, which was useless because he never answers his phone.
Right.
So I took the kids, and somehow I think he was out front, and I had the kids and my wife, and the kids were at that real cute age, which was I think very strategic and everything. Right. And anyway, the long and short of it is,
did you have all 4 of them with you at the time?
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, because I wanted them to see what we were in for, and the kids were like, well, some of them thought it was really cool. Some of them were a little shy because he's a very outgoing and sort of like I whatever like. And we're pulling into this house, and we're going to go inside and look at it and everything. But this was the first time I had ever actually spoke to Prince Mongo.
Tell me at least one of the twins was freaking out.
Well, I don't know. I think, nobody freaked out, but I think they were just sort of like, it was sort of an adventure. Right. Like, okay, we're going on this adventure. And all of us wanted a bigger house.
Just laying it out there. I could see Jeremy being super excited.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, so it was pretty cool. So we pulled up, and then I'm also having to try to convince my wife that this is a sensible business proposal. Like, we're going to do business with Prince Mongo, and we're going to sign our name to the deed of this house and all the other. So that was one of those things too, and that I would actually do all the work required to fix it up. Well, the good news is he really didn't do anything to the inside of the house. So when you got inside, it was it definitely needed cleaning up, and whatever. But the first thing I noticed, Brandon, is we walk into the living room, and I should say this: the first thing he said as we got out of the car, as we're shaking hands with him, is, "Well, Spirit, I don't think I'm really going to sell the house, but I'll be happy to show you around." And so I was sort of dejected out of the gate. I'm like, oh man, and so we just sort of at that point we're taking a tour of the house. Well, the first thing I noticed is that in the living room we have a fireplace. Right. Well, there's a fireplace. Well, he had this ratty old mattress on the floor, and the head of the mattress was in the fireplace. He slept with his pillow in the fireplace.
Nice.
Which I later learned is because he doesn't want to be disconnected from outer space and everything.
So he needs the most direct line of sight outside.
I guess
directly up the fireplace.
Yeah, and then his dog Stussy, that was his dog's name, slept right next to him there, and that right away made me go, I gotta get this house, man. Right. This is too cool. So anyway, he continued the tour. And I don't know, man, as it was going, I was personally getting more excited. I don't know. It's hard to tell what my kids were thinking, but
I've walked around your house. There's like hidey holes.
Yeah.
And the way that, your attic is connected is weird.
Right. Well, there was a lot in there, too, and it was not a normal house. But we'll tell you the rest of this tale when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead, and I'm regaling you. Hey, that's a word we can actually use here.
Regale.
With a story about Prince Mongo, because everybody's got a story. I happen to have a pretty good one because I knew the guy for 23 years. I bought his house. I'm finally revealing that on the air, even though I think we've hinted at it before. But
I've straight up told people.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really that big of a secret. And I thought, well, you might enjoy hearing what that looked like. And so basically, when we left off at the last break, I was telling you about how the first thing he said out of his mouth when we pulled up is like he was having second thoughts. Like, he was like, yeah, I'm probably not going to sell the house or whatever. And he was showing us around. So we were more or less getting a tour at that point. But I hadn't given up on wanting this house. Brandon, my personality. If I want something, I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to. I think everybody else was just sort of enjoying seeing all the weird stuff that he had in his house. So
you are very determined. When you get something into your crawl, you don't stop until you've either figured it out or completely fallen on your face, and there's no chance that it'll happen.
Yeah. Well, the thing about him that you notice when you're at his house is his priorities. Okay, if he doesn't prioritize something, you probably don't want to get near it. For example, he had a refrigerator on his back porch.
Sounds legit.
It was not a priority.
No.
We opened it, and I was sort of overwhelmed with. I mean, it was pretty bad. Just imagine what food can be like if at some point,
Yeah. No, I've had.
We're talking the summer too. This is like at this point June.
I've cleaned out a dead man's fridge before.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he valued artwork, and so he had some pretty interesting artwork. And I can reveal this now. He had a Cutlass convertible. You remember the Cutlass I had?
Yeah.
I've shown you a picture. I had a 72 Cutlass convertible. I don't know what year this was, but this was in his garage. This had to be a $100,000 car. You could eat off the engine. Imagine just it was one of the most beautiful cars I've ever seen. And it's like sandwiched right next to all this like piles of just junk and old doll heads. And random one thing about Mongo is he had his good stuff right next to just basically garbage.
Because his stuff was his stuff.
Yeah. It's like, so what that turned into, though, is it's basically a treasure hunt. You might come across like, oh, yeah, David Bowie gave me that thing over there and whatever. Apparently he knew everybody, too.
Right.
But anyway, so we're doing the whole tour, and I remember getting to his backyard and looking at this yard, and I'm like, my gosh, because we had a dog.
Yeah.
And I got 4 kids, and I'm like, what, man, we could, this would just be the best house, because our house was small, the one we were living in. And I just remember I said, Prince Mongo, I really want to buy your house. And something, I don't know what it was, but we somehow connected. In the course of that 45-minute tour, he went from I'm not selling the house to, I guess somehow he just, maybe it was smart that I brought the kids, but we sort of struck up a friendship. Yeah. And he shook my hand and said, Spirit, I want you to have the house too. And I was sort of stunned. And my wife, I think, was not, I think she was excited, but also just like, what did we just get ourselves into, man?
I think there's that point where, it's like he saw that you genuinely wanted the house. I'm sure that there had been 100 people at least who had stopped by to quote unquote tour the house,
right,
just to see the spectacle.
Well, I think what a lot of people saw was the potential to flip the house. Like, okay, you get rid of the paint job, you do this, and then maybe you even cash in on the fact that it's Prince Mongo's house. He saw that we wanted to make this our home, and I mean, we've been there 23 years, so he knows we were sincere.
And the truth is if somebody got that property who was a flipper, dude, it wouldn't take anything to split that lot and put another property on there and sell it basically twice for the price that you were going to buy it for.
I think maybe he saw that maybe that's what he was thinking is like, okay, I'm not selling it to somebody like that.
Because I don't know how many times we've been at a home show or something and we've come across one of those tiny homes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to just put one of these in your backyard for the kids. For because your daughter's she's grown and independent, and she's got her own like production studio and everything now. She needs her own space. That would, and it's like, I don't know how many times I've thought, yeah, you should buy this for her.
Well, here's what I was gonna say, and Brandon, you've been to my house, and you can attest to this, because I mean, every house has an aura.
Yeah,
and we know what we mean by that. There's a vibe you get. Our house has a great aura. I've always felt that. I always feel secure, and it always feels interesting.
It feels welcoming.
Yes.
But it also gives you that feeling that at any moment something could happen and you want to be there to witness it.
That's a perfect way to describe. Yeah. Which
sadly too many times it happened to be your nudist neighbor, but
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we're at a corner where one thing that happens all the time is cars are always breaking down in front of our house because it's a busy intersection. And so they'll pull in front of our house. So somehow we've become like the rescue for stranded vehicles. So we've met a lot of people just by helping them, like giving them gas or giving them whatever. So you encounter every kind of person there. And not to mention all the people that didn't realize Prince Mongo didn't live there anymore and would drop by.
And I mean, and that's in the past several years, I mean hearing Jay Hill talk about how much business he's gotten because of the fact that he had redone your roof and you allowed him to keep a sign there. Everybody drives past your lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you may not even most people will go, "Oh, that's Thorderson's house," and go, "I go by there all the time."
Right.
It just it stands out.
Well, it's just I've always loved it, and I mean, it was cool, and then striking up a friendship with him was interesting too, because like I said, there was things that he valued that maybe you didn't value.
Yeah.
That he did everything to extreme. Like for example, the guy ate a lot of meat. Like I don't know, he was a carnivore, but he also ate a lot of vegetables. I think my wife told me he eats a raw onion. He ate a raw onion every day. Well,
that's insane. He
likes onions and he likes tomatoes and things. So instead, he would knock on the door and go, "Hey, Spirit, I got you some tomatoes." Yeah. So he it's like, so he was 5 dozen tomatoes. It's like, what am I going to
It's like he gave you all the same privilege you would have as a renter, even though you owned his house now.
Oh, he never left. So his spirit remained. And we have a few more cool things to tell you about Prince Mongo when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my buddy Brandon Olmstead, and we're paying tribute to our friend, and he really was our friend, Prince Mongo. We're not just saying that. I mean, we knew the guy for 23 years, so
it's insane.
Pretty intimately. I bought the guy's house, and he became a friend of our family. So.
And the truth is that without him, me and you wouldn't be sitting here across the table with microphones right now, because honestly, I probably wouldn't have met you if it wasn't for him helping you get MCFC going.
It's interesting when you start thinking about, have you ever stopped to think about the chain of events that had to happen just for you to exist? Like, your parents had to meet at the right moment, your grandparent, and all the way back in history. But well, I think you're right, Brandon. I think there's a very clear connection between Prince Mongo and getting us here on the radio. So I'll just tell you folks, one night, Brandon, you know what a fan I am of Harry Potter.
Yep.
This would have been
to your own detriment.
Yep. This would have been not quite 20 years ago. This was 2007. And but back in those days, I have that great garage.
Oh,
and I had a wood lathe. And this was right at book 7 when I started making Harry Potter wands as I would mostly go to arts and craft shows, but I was such a fan. And that was the biggest thing going on, even after the book came out, because they still had movies and it was a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And,
dude.
And Mongo loved that stuff. And he dropped in a lot. I should say, it's funny, he moved 2 doors down. Do you remember that?
He wasn't that far away from you.
He didn't move very far away. He moved 2 doors down, and then he rented that house eventually and moved to he moved like 3 blocks away. He was always in the blast radius. So, but one night,
that's a good way of saying it.
I was on the lathe, and one of the things that's great is back then, I don't know, I just felt a little safer. it was 10:30 at night. I had the garage door swung wide open, looking out at the street, and I'm working on the lathe and everything. And he came by, and he saw these Harry Potter wands that I was making, and he just lost his mind. He goes, "What?" And I told him what I wanted to do. I said, "I really like making them. I'd like to try to make a little side business of doing that."
Yeah.
He was checking them out. And the long and short of it was he just gave me, right there on the spot, gave me $1,500. He goes, "Here, this will help you make more of these."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, come on, man. That's the stuff he just did all the time. I didn't ask him that. I wasn't even expecting. I just thought he was admiring the woodworking. Well, as you know, Brandon, that led to doing more shows, and then I was able to make more wands, and then I started to go into conventions, and that's kind of when you and I started to, our orbits crossed, you could say. And one thing led to another, where by going to conventions as a vendor, I eventually started the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. That's when I met Brandon. And then, how many years? 5 years into the convention, we started Geek Tank Radio as a means of promoting the convention.
Right.
We didn't even know we'd still be doing this 11 years later.
It was literally paid programming to promote the convention. And Alan's Dark Oak Media, Kerlake Publishing at the time.
Yeah, well, and his art gallery down there on Main Street. Yep. Yeah, and so, but what happened was, so we basically signed a 6-year contract to do a paid hour on we can just say AM 600,
right?
Every Saturday morning. Well, it was very interesting, Brandon, because at the end of the 6 months, we loved doing the show, but we it was like, I don't think we can justify spending the money.
We weren't really seeing a return as far as the show goes.
And so they, we told them, well, we're probably going to have to cancel. And they didn't want us to cancel because they said this is actually one of the best shows we have on. Because we weren't doing it as a commercial. We were putting real effort into the show and doing gags. And
I think the thing that really kind of helped us shine was the fact that we weren't your professional radio personalities. We felt genuine.
Well, I think they said they related to us because we would get into these debates about Superman or about Darth Vader or whatever, and it sounded genuine. And then suddenly, do you remember this? I remember this distinctly because there's 4 radio stations over there, and people would start sticking their head in the window while we're recording, and then people started wanting to come on the show with us.
Right. I mean,
it was funny.
I remember at the time Tim Van Horn was doing the morning show over on AM 600. Right around the same time that The Force Awakens was coming out.
Oh, right, yeah.
And
which was a lot of hype around then.
It's like, hey, do you want to swing by after when you get done with work? And I was like, sure.
Yeah.
It's like you really felt like you were part of a family. And I mean, honestly, because of the people that we had relationships with there, is the reason we're here now.
Yeah, well, we got established as we don't just phone it in. We try to do things that were good. We did a lot of really good, creative things. We interviewed celebrities, and then, of course, that's when we interviewed Prince Mongo.
Which was on our 6-month anniversary.
Right. And so really you could say, there is a direct connection. If I didn't, because that was a side gig making wands, and my wife was certainly not encouraging me to quit my contracting work to make Harry Potter wand. But when I got that motivation from Mongo, that really lit a fire, man. And so, you could definitely say there was a connection. But what's interesting, this, Brandon, if you mention Prince Mongo to anybody, you never get a neutral response.
No, they
either hate the guy,
they really don't have any love for him, or they have all the love in the world for him.
And they all have a story. And so, actually, this would be a good call to action. We would sure love to hear from you if you've got any Mongo stories. And actually, if this is a really good time to remind you to go to the Geek Tank Radio Facebook page, because you can hear that interview that was really it's never been posted in 11 years that we finally went ahead and put it up, and it's really good.
It's probably one of the best interviews we did in our first year.
Yeah. And it's, we always, the one thing about him that was funny to me is, Brandon, okay, he loved the convention. He was very supportive of the Memphis Comic and Fantasy Convention. It was impossible to get him as a guest, though. We tried many times, remember?
No,
I don't know, Spirit, I may be here. I may be going to Brazil, or you never know. So it was hard to book him out for
it was almost impossible to nail him down, even when he was around all the time.
Yeah. very odd, man. So it's, but I'm gonna miss Prince Mongo a lot. But at the same time, you know, whenever somebody has a really good run, it's hard to feel real sad because, and then his presence is gonna be here. You know, he's gonna be ever present in the Mid-South. Yep. So, all right, Spirit, we love you and we missed you, but and you're gonna be missed, but never forgotten. All right, Brandon, we got to go. The show's over. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
And I'm Brandon Olmsted, remembering the time that Mongo tried to give us a castle.